It is nice to be back. You know what they say, it's good to go away, it's better to come home. So it's nice to be back. I spent last Shabbat in Florence, and as big and as beautiful a building as that is, they have nothing on the people of GHC. The truth is they're very warm and welcoming, but in this very strange language that they speak, so I didn't understand of what they were saying. But a very strange thing happened while I was away. And it's not the first time that my travels have been disrupted by an event going on here in the United States. In October, I was supposed to go to Chicago for Shabbat. And it was the Shabbat right after the events that occurred in Pittsburgh. And if you recall, I didn't go. I felt I wanted to be with my community rather than in Chicago. And so I chose to be here, and it was strange this time to be in Italy while the mass shootings that took place here in this country occurred. And I was distraught because I wanted to be here with my community, because anytime something as horrific as that occurs, you want to be around family and friends. And immediately what occurred is what has happened each time there has been a mass shooting in this country, and there has been a call for Congress to return and to establish common sense gun legislation. And then everybody started pointing fingers at everybody else. People started calling on Mitch McConnell to call everybody back. Mitch McConnell said he wouldn't do it. And then the real finger pointing occurred. People started talking about the elevation of horrible language in this country. People once again talked about background checks. People once again talked about the types of guns that people should be permitted to have. Again surfaced the conversation about mental health and emotional well-being. And then, of course, the conversation settled on what is wrong in our society that is producing such an elevated sense of violence. And nobody, not one person stepped up and said, I didn't do my part to see this coming. I didn't do my part to bring a little kindness in the world. Not one person, not one leader, not one neighbor, not one community representative said, this occurred on my watch because I haven't done enough to see that the person next to me is suffering so much. They're so filled with hatred and so filled with anger that I did nothing to do about it. We're so good at demonizing other people. We have perfected it. It has become an art form in American society today, amongst everybody, to demonize the other. We're so good at it. But I think we come by it honestly. So many of us were raised in a world in which that's already been going on for a long time. It's not my fault. Cashier makes a mistake. It's not her fault, it's the machine's fault. We send an email out and it autocorrects. Right? It's not my fault. It autocorrected. Maybe it was subconscious. But we say it's not my fault. Our go-to on almost everything that happens wrong in our life is to say, it wasn't my fault. The circumstances produced this event. The events led up to this. It wasn't my fault. So we have a generation in the desert, and that generation has to die off before they can go into the land of Israel. You know why? Because according to the Torah, they were bad people. And they had to die off before they could go into the land of Israel. Not that over the course of life, this is what happens, that generations come and generations go, and that they lived an entire generation in the desert, and that those people simply because of lifespan weren't going to make it into the land of Israel. No, it had to be their fault. They must have done something wrong. We know that the generation of Korach's rebellion, they died out. They were swallowed up by the earth because they were incompatible with the message of the new promised land. But yet we arrive here at the book of Deuteronomy, and Korach's rebellion is long over, and those people are long gone. But we hear the message again. It says in this parsha, V'hayamim asher halachnu mikadesh barnea ad asher avarnu et nachal zered 38 shana ad tom hadur. We were in the desert. We went from Kadesh Barnea to Zerad. It took 38 years until the whole generation, ad tom kol hadur anshe hamilchama mikerev hamachaneh kasher nishpat Adonai lahem, until that entire generation of warriors passed away. Oh, I thought we liked warriors. We glorify warriors. We put them on pedestals and make statues about warriors. We're supposed to like warriors. How are they supposed to conquer the land of Israel without warriors? But yet, the generation has to die out. Mikerev hamachaneh kasher nishpat Adonai, just like God promised. The gam yad Adonai hayta bam, and also the hand of God was with them. Lehumam mikerev hamachaneh tumam, that struck out all those people who stood in our path. Vayihi kasher tamu kol anshe milchama lamut mikerev ha'am. And when all those warriors had died out, then it was time to land in the land of Israel. I don't understand. Say the commentaries. How can it possibly be? They were the ones who ensured our survival. Say the rabbis, it must have been bad. They must have done something wrong. The world that they lived in and they perpetuated was incorrect. And so the commentary, or the text goes on. And the text goes on and says, not one of these men, this evil generation, shall see the good in the land that I swore. You see, they have to die out because they were evil. They were bloodthirsty. They were bad. And evil is incompatible with the goodness of the land of Israel. They had to die out. They were evil. There was something wrong with them. The world in which they lived was broken. And they couldn't land in the land of Israel. And then the Bechor Shor says something remarkable. Im yireh ish, talking on the same pasuk in the Torah, ma shehem rotzim eseh lahem. What they want will be done to them. She'inam rotzim ba'aretz v'hem lo yirau. They didn't want to be in the land. And so they're never going to see it. They didn't want to be in the land. So they're never going to see it. It's not that they were incompatible. They didn't even want to be there in the first place. The text amplifies the otherness of who they are. It's them. It's not us. It's they who are evil, not us. They don't even want to be there. It's not us. It's not about me. It's about them. It's about the other. And we do that all the time. It wasn't my fault. As children playing in the yard, I didn't do it. I'll tell you a funny story. One Shabbos afternoon, my father was taking a nap in the driveway. We were playing basketball. And he said, just do me a favor. If I fall asleep, don't hit me in the head with the basketball. Just one thing. We were nowhere near him. He was on one end, we were on the other end. But of course, that's what happened. Boom, right in the head with a basketball. He got up, we ran, we scattered. Like cockroaches when you turn the lights on. And when we all gathered later, you know what we each said? I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. He hit me. He pushed me. He threw it. I didn't catch it. But we're good at it. We grow up understanding it must be somebody else's fault all the time. It can't possibly be our fault. And as long as we maintain that attitude, the violence that exists in our American soil will continue. As long as each and every one of us stops taking responsibility, stop looking for the people next to us to see if they're suffering. As long as we continue to put it on somebody else, it's not our fault, it's the legislator's fault. It's not our fault, it's the other party's fault. As long as we don't take responsibility for all of the horrible things that go on in our world, then they're going to continue to go on. There's no way. There's no one solution to the problem of gun violence in our society. And you can say all you want, it's not guns that kill, it's people. Or you can say rather, all you want, that it's the type of guns. It's about background checks. It's about mental health. But I have nothing to do with it. As long as we do that, as long as we perpetuate that finger pointing, then it will continue in our world. And we'll have to build bigger fences and bigger walls to ensure our own security and safety, as long as it has nothing to do with us. Our job as Jews is to be an Or LaGoyim, a light unto the nations. Our job as Jews on this planet, our sole purpose here, is to make sure that the world understands that violence cannot continue. That we have to stop that cycle and take our own responsibility for it. And that means keeping our eyes open. Not to just see something and say something, it's to see something and do something. If you see someone near you who's suffering and you do nothing, then you're complicit in their pain. You're complicit in their suffering. If we do nothing to stop this wave of violence that I think is unprecedented in our society, then we individuals are responsible. And until we do something about that on our own personal level, then we're all culpable. Shabbat shalom. Yeah, if you want to give this a shot. Okay, page 184. Musaf is introduced by the Chatzi Kaddish. Yeah, here, you can take this one. Please rise.